Hello and welcome back to Talking Sit. Hopefully your new favourite podcast, number one in the Spotify and Apple charts. Maybe not, but a year from now, I can manifest. Who knows? I really hope you enjoyed the first episode, my interview with Fabian Rivers. It was great to interview him. Love this guy. He's super, super interesting and full of knowledge. And I hope you learned some really cool stuff about what it's like to be a vet. Today, I have Kerry on from Howl School for Dogs, and we're going to be talking about debunking social media dog training. The episode is called Evidence versus the Algorithm. If you're not aware, in the UK, dog training and behaviour is not regulated, so it means anybody can go onto social media or in person and spout any old nonsense for any amount of money, and therefore we end up with loads of harmful content out there. So we have put this episode together to help you recognise what to follow, when to cleanse your algorithm, and hopefully you will feel more confident, your relationship with your dog will improve, and you will stop banging your head against your phone when awful videos come up. So please enjoy my interview with Kerry. Okay, welcome, Kerry.
Hello.
I would love you to just start by introducing yourself and telling the listeners a bit about what you do. So, I mean, in your money making context and also in your hobby, that is probably the reason that you're on here, the thing that the listeners might know you for.
Okay, so money making, you say? That's not going to
What's
take
that?
long. Oh, that's not going to take long. So my name's Kerry Sheldrick from Howl School for Dogs. I'm a dog trainer currently in the guest. Norma is joining us.
Norma's
don't know-
decided that she does want to come up and be on camera after offering her before the podcast started. Hey, Norma.
Yeah, Norma. Yes, there is some treats in my pocket. This is not my first rodeo. There you go.
Oh, bless her.
All right, Norma.
But
Yeah, we're not eating them all straight away. You'll have them littered throughout the podcast. There you go. That's the last bits. Okay. So sorry about that. I'm
that's all
Kerry.
right.
This is Norma, and I have my own business called Howl School for Dogs, and I'm a dog trainer based in the Gloucestershire area, and I work with people in person and remotely all over the world. There was a few questions.
And if
there.
anyone recognizes your name or your face, why might they recognize you? What are you known for on social media?
I do a lot of spoiling parties, ruining people's on social media. So one of my favorite things to do is I say favorite, it's not that I enjoy it, I just have to do it
It's
because
important,
otherwise
yeah.
I'll go to bed and I'll ruminate on it and it'll bother me. So I have to put it out there so that I can try to change what I've seen. So yeah, what I like to do is catch one of the billion viral dog videos that are out there and debunk whatever is being described in it, or just explain why perhaps it's not as funny as the creator thought it was, that sort of thing. Yeah, so it
I think that
involves a
about
lot
sums it up.
Yeah.
And we've met Norma now. We've been introduced. Well, do you want
Yes.
to just tell us a bit about Norma for anybody who can't see her, and also just tell me about any other pets you have, Kerry? Because I like everybody to feel included, even if they don't have a dog or they don't have pets. Just they can live through your pets.
Sure. Well, Norma came from heaven via Battersea Dogs Home. She
Wow.
is a Yorkie crossed with a Maltese. Oh my God, I don't have a big, massive, scary dog, so I can't be a proper dog trainer. No,
Absolutely, I agree with that.
she's a Yorkie crossed with a Maltese who I adopted when she was 5. She's now 11. And her background is she lived in a home where there was her and her sister. They didn't go out of the house for any walks or anything in those 5 years. And the two dogs used to fight because they were both quite stressed out. And eventually their guardian made the correct decision to separate them, Norma to Battersea. And I've got a friend who works there who called me and said, "You were after a little terrier, right?" I said, "Yeah." What do you think
Here
about
she
this one?
is.
And here she is, and she's amazing. She's
Bless
amazing.
her. She's
Yeah.
looking at Kerry with the most adoring eyes I've ever seen. My dog just looks at me like I'm a peasant that's interrupting his nap, but that's fine. He's allowed to think that.
Yeah, no, Norma is looking at me with little bits of chicken in her eyes.
Yeah, yeah, the
Yeah,
little like floating chicken above her
yeah,
head in the cartoon.
exactly. Aren't you?
Okay, so let's start kind of putting social media in perspective. Now, in my intro, I mentioned to people about the sort of lack of regulation that we have. And I guess in my mind, what I most often see is not the greatest of dog training. And we'll probably go into the reasons why the stuff that you and I do doesn't really make for good content.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I guess, good or bad trends, what are the things that you're seeing most on your feed at the moment?
What am I seeing a lot on my feed? Um, Neutrality walks comes up a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that.
So for the listeners, do you want to say what that is and then maybe your thoughts on that?
Thank you. Yeah, so neutrality walks are, to my understanding, groups, group classes out and about in the in the wild, with dogs that are struggling with reactivity, etc. And these neutrality classes, I believe, are designed to bring these dogs together in a bid to stop their strong reactions and make them neutral around other dogs and
Hmm.
people,
Well,
perhaps.
actually, just to interrupt you, I think the ones that I've seen as well, it can just be happy adolescents that just that there's this idea that they shouldn't feel anything. They should just
Okay,
walk.
right. I've not watched too many of the videos of them because I find them a little bit upsetting. But
Mm,
um, but that makes sense that people are also taking kind of lively adolescent dogs along to them as
yeah.
well.
And
Yeah.
why would you find that upsetting, Kerry?
Well, first of all, the word neutral, I don't believe applies to a sentient being.
Hmm.
It implies that they don't have any feelings or thought or autonomy at all. And also, most of the ones that I've seen are dogs that appear to be shut down, not, not thriving, not feeling comfortable. They're just shut down because they're in such close proximity to other dogs, and or aversive treatment is happening at the same time, such as lead corrections, use of slip leads, prong collars, grot collars, etc.
Yeah, the word that sprung to mind for me when you mentioned neutrality walks is they don't they think they want neutrality, but what they want is a robot.
Yeah,
And
they want compliance.
for yeah, exactly. And that sort of like blind obedience, which
Mm.
is something that I really, really push back against. And yeah, and is not something that I look for in my customers and actively discourage them from actually, because you don't want to
Same.
take away all that expression and that individuality. And yeah, it's really, really sad.
Definitely. So, like, it's okay if they don't like being around dogs. It's okay if that's just their preference, or if it's that
Hmm.
it's something else that needs helping, not just, forcing, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Why do you think that there has been this upsurge? Because I presume you weren't making TikTok videos 5 years ago. I wasn't. In that sort of time period, why do you think there has been this massive surge in TikTok and Instagram Reels and that sort of thing, which claim to be teaching people how to train their dogs?
Well, COVID is a
Hmm.
biggie. There was a lot of people sitting at home. There were a lot of people that needed support with their
Hmm.
dogs, and there were a lot of people that didn't know how to make money during that time.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful collision of
Mm.
things that occurred. And then you got your superstars that grew out of that, your South
Yes,
End
we
dog
won't.
team.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I won't be slandering anyone, don't worry.
No, that's fine. Yes, we'll just say there are people that have become very successful on social media from around this time period, and I think the name you just mentioned probably I don't want to give too much credit, but sort of pioneered the sort of TikTok dog training thing
Yeah.
and showed that it's a really, really good way to make money and run a business. And
Yes.
with this surge in the number of dogs, like you say, it's almost
Yeah.
inevitable, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it also seemed to collide as well with the rise of populism in
Mm.
politics. And so again, I think those two things go hand in hand. You'll often see a lot of right wing rhetoric used in the kind of language that people that use aversive methods talk about when they're, training dogs.
Yeah, I'm actually going to jump to one of my questions, which is a bit of a way down, but I think is a natural kind of progression. And I knew that we would get onto this eventually, and it does really interest me. What are the kind of demographics that you think tend to find the videos that are problematic versus obviously the ones that you and I make?
Mm.
Do you personally see any trends in the types of people who leave the comments or who are in the videos with their dogs that are taking people to see these people? Wonder if you've seen any trends in terms of that.
So, in terms of the trends, I think that young cis males are often attracted to the kinds of sensational training that you see where dogs are, forced to be compliant, forced to
Hmm.
submit. I think you often see people that are, I don't know, you know what? Part of me thinks that often people that feel disenfranchised are drawn
Hmm.
to this. But then I've met people from all walks of life and have had similar conversations with a lot of them. I think that there's a lot of women that follow these sorts of things, and I think they have a lot of internalized misogyny going on there,
Yeah.
perhaps that they're unaware of. And yeah,
Yeah, it was more, it was, I hope it wasn't sort of a leading question, but I thought you would probably find the same thing as me, is that I always see it massively featuring and catered to men. And I think there's a really interesting conversation there about these problematic social media videos. And actually, I'm sort of in the early stages, very, very early stages of drafting a book about that kind of link with misogyny and that kind of interest in obedience and compliance, because it's been a societal expectation of women for such a long time that we're obedient and compliant. So,
yeah,
yeah, I
absolutely.
think,
There is toxic masculinity is rife in the dog training industry, but I see a disturbing amount of that coming from women as well.
yeah, and absolutely, and I agree with you that we definitely can't sort of predict these things or put everybody in the same box, because I have fantastic customers from all walks of life,
Sure.
different income, like whatever. So it definitely isn't linear. And at the same time, I live in a very affluent area where you'll see a lot of very affluent people, educated people who are yanking their dogs around on figure of eight leads and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
But
it
there
is
that
it is really strange.
sorry to interrupt you then. I feel like there's the people that come from the old-fashioned kind of Crufts, Barbara Woodhouse, Wookiees, yes, let's yank them
Yeah.
on the neck with the slip lead. But then you've got the other people that are coming from the superstar TikTok
Mm.
trainers and are impressed by the kind of the macho stance of someone wrangling an XL bully with a
Yeah.
prong collar.
Yeah.
And
And
people
and
perhaps
Kerry,
go on.
sorry to interrupt you, but what's with the tracksuits? Like, why always the tracksuit? Why can't we just put, well, actually one of them does wear some pretty heinous jeans, but most of the time we're talking like matching tracksuit bottom, like it's always the same fit. And I just think, guys, and this is, I guess, even one of the even more fascinating things is there's no originality. They're just like the same format. It's bizarre.
Yeah. There's not nearly enough Crocs being worn in their
No,
sessions. Not
no.
nearly enough.
I saw one of a hilarious comment sort of against our kind of collective, if you like, that was
Hmm.
like, oh, it's always overweight women with like colored hair wearing Crocs and a dry robe or something. And I was like, oh, he's seen my social media. I guess the
Possibly.
stereotypes go both ways.
But isn't that interesting that these people? attack the physicality of women. I've never commented on the physicality of another person generally. I might laugh at what they're wearing, if they're dressed like a 1970s pimp. I'm I'm
It's hilarious because I know who you're talking about. Yeah, carry on.
which is, that tells you everything you need to know about the person, right? But then and I will lay into somebody who is giving out mis and disinformation, but I'll never comment on their physicality at all
No,
because
no, I know.
they can change what they think, they can change their wardrobe, but they can't change their physicality, and I don't have an issue with
Absolutely.
that at all. But that shows
And
the mindset that they have, that they would do that, and I've been on the receiving end of that.
yeah, I was going to ask you because you were very open about the comment that you had a while back where somebody
Mm.
commented on the way that you look, and
Yeah,
I think loads of us were in the comments like, what is this person doing? This has gone too far now.
yeah, yeah.
Do you want to share with the listeners? Again, I'm jumping around a little bit, and I'll come back to the less personal stuff. But again, something I wanted to talk to you about was how are you received on social media when you make these debunking videos and you say, oh, I don't like this for this reason. And Kerry, you're so kind in your videos as well. You're so
Really?
non-judgmental, and you'll say things like, yeah, I think so. You'll say, oh, I know this caregiver loves their dog, and it's clear that this dog is really, really loved. That's why they're in an ice skating rink with friggin' boots on and a hoodie or whatever. And then, I think that you come across very understanding, and like you're trying to do the right thing. Obviously, I'm slightly biased because I'm in your camp. But then, the response to that can just be so awful. Tell me about that, and tell me about some of the worst things that have been said to you, if you don't mind.
No, no, not at all. So I'll start with the kind of more just common responses, which I'm sure are bots anyway. Things like, "Okay, Karen." I mean, didn't Karen originate because of a white woman complaining about a black person and about something ridiculous? Wasn't that the origins of the Karen? And
I
now
don't know, to be honest.
it's suddenly, if you are a woman and you are having an opinion on anything, you are a Karen. But anyway, so okay, Karen. Did the dog tell you that? Um,
That's
is a
nice. Yeah.
favourite response, which I normally respond with yes, actually.
Very, very clearly, in fact.
Very
Yeah.
clearly. Yes, and if you pay attention, they'll tell you to. Um, but then I get people. I had I've had a few people kind of comment on my appearance. One person, one of my most popular videos was at me responding to somebody who said in the comments, "What's wrong with her face?" And the reason that I really wanted to respond to that was one, because it was offensive, but two, because they weren't even asking me. They were asking the other people, which suggests this isn't somebody that is interested and wants to know. This is somebody that wants to
To start a
gather,
conversation.
yeah, and wants to bully. And if there's one thing I will not tolerate, it's bullies, which is why I do the work that I do. And I'm sure
Hmm.
you do the work that you do, is kind of, stopping people bullying people. But yeah, so they said, "What's wrong with her face?" And they were referring to the fact that I've got nerve damage on my face, which has been there since I was in the womb, which I've struggled with all my life, from being bullied to just, hating the way that I look. But in the last few years, I think this happens to a lot of women when you kind of hit 40, just started to kind of being like, no, you know what, this is what I look like. And I have no issue with it. I mean, not no issue with it. I've still got my insecurities, but a few years ago, you wouldn't have got me talking to camera as much as I do
Hmm.
now.
Hmm.
And so when that came up, I thought, okay, I could either go away and internalize this and feel awful about it, or I could use this as a teaching point. And that's generally what I like to do with anything. Rather than go away, feel awful about it, that I've seen something that's been really upsetting, I'll think, right, how can I turn this poison into medicine? Let's make it a teaching point, because it might help someone else.
Mm.
And it was really, the response was amazing. It was the most cathartic thing I'd ever done. Yeah, I was really glad that I did that, and the response was, yeah, it was just amazing. And the person who said that just ended up looking like a dick.
Mm.
So yeah, but other comments, the other comments that I get are, "Why don't you ever show videos of you working with a big dog?" which is just like such a boring comment. And I know that we'll probably talk about that more as well, but that's a classic one.
Yeah, why don't you ever show videos of your dog trying to like attack a person, or why don't you ever work with aggressive dogs? And it's like I, I'm like slapping my head against the table trying to say to people, well, my first thought when I go see a giant breed that's aggressive is not, hang on one sec, I'm just going to get my camera out, or I'm just going to bring a person behind me to
Right?
film. I'm
Exactly.
working on keeping myself, the dog, and the other person safe. And that's
Yeah.
why you don't get videos of me in these scenarios. And the
Exactly.
fact that isn't obvious to people, I don't know. I don't have words. But what I really like, Kerry, my favorite thing is when you do what I do, and the people that repeatedly comment, you'll comment things like, "Oh God, why are you so obsessed with me?" And like, "If you love me, just ask me out." Or here's my like, here's my email if you want to send me a gift.
Is this negging? Is that what this is? Dude, sorry, just not interested. Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah.
It infuriates them.
I imagine it
And then
does. I can, yeah.
sometimes when I just don't have the capacity, perhaps I've been experiencing a bit too much trigger stacking in my day, then it'll just be an instant block, like
Yeah,
Limmy said, block and move on, bammo.
yeah.
So it totally depends if I think it's such an unbelievably stupid response, that's gonna become a video in
Yeah, yeah,
itself,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love
which just
that.
fills me with delight when that happens.
Remember a few months ago, a guy commented on one of my videos, and you immediately commented, a couple of minutes after, I think his name's Patrick or something. You were like, Patrick, you're normally on my videos. Why are you cheating on
I
me?
remember.
Commenting on more than one video.
Yeah.
Loved it so much.
Yeah, I mean, it hurts. It hurts when
Mm.
they
Yeah, I
you feel
imagine.
like you're their only one, and then you see
Yeah,
them on
it's betrayal.
pages, just yeah. And the other kind of comments that just annoy me are when people say things like, "My dog loves their prong collar. My dog loves their dog
Mm.
collar. You should see how excited they are." Or, "Boom, here's a photo of my dog in their prong collar." Well, what does the photo show? I want to see
Yeah, and the dog's like this
over
anyway.
a 2 week period, please. I want to observe your dog over a 2 week period, and then let's see how much your dog is enjoying that.
I had my first, not death threat, I guess extremely violent comment the other week.
Really?
I put a video up and they commented saying, why don't you do the world of dog training a favour and just throw yourself off the top of a tall building?
Oh, yeah, I've had those sorts of suggestions.
And I just think that is the type of person that is on the other side. And I don't know personally anybody who is, I don't want to do the whole, like, it's not black and white, like balance versus force free. I don't want to say that, but none of my friends or contacts or any of my clients would say that to somebody in a million years. And, that sort of thing doesn't bother me because I just pity him, honestly. If that's what he wants to put on someone's video of, I can't remember, me like walking a dog or something.
Well, you just know they live in their mum's basement, don't you, when they write that? You just know.
Yeah,
It's just the most, it's either a bot or it's someone living in their mum's basement, and it's just really tragic.
it is. It is. All right, well, let's, they probably feel bad enough about themselves already without us talking about them for the next half an hour. So,
Sure.
although we definitely could because it is
Yes, we
fascinating.
could.
But let's actually talk about some stuff that people can take away from this podcast and use to cleanse their algorithm and, sort through the bullshit, because I'm sure you're the same with me. When I see a new client, I almost always get this thing where they say, I'm bombarded with information. I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what to listen to. And I just tell them to just unfollow everything. But hopefully, by listening to something like this, they can feel a bit more, empowered and confident to know what is not ideal.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm going to combine a few questions that I had together. What do you think are the biggest issues with social media dog training? I'm not necessarily saying about, the types of people and that sort of thing, but I guess maybe about the kind of falsities that they tell us about. And what do you think is the advice from these videos that finds its way into the real world most often that then you have to recover from?
Well, I guess whenever I meet a client, one of the things that I hear time and time again is them apologising for caring for their dog. Such as they'll say, my dog sleeps in bed with me. I know they shouldn't. And I'm like, whoa, why shouldn't they? They absolutely, or they'll often say, I know that I'm meant to be the boss, or I'm probably spoiling my dog. In fact, somebody, just to divert a little bit, somebody said that to me today. I was in a cafe and Norma was on my lap, and in the same breath, they complimented me on how relaxed and happy Norma was, but then also suggested that I spoilt her. And I thought, what about any of this do you think is spoiling? The fact that she's so relaxed and happy is a result of everything that I do for her.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that she has a harness on, the fact that she's got a jumper on, the fact that I'm giving her rewards to help her to, settle, all of that is exactly why she's like this. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, I think the language that people unwittingly parrot, that they see online about, I know that I need to be in control. I know I need to use a stern voice. I know I need to be firmer. I know I need to be less kind. All of these things. It's this idea that kindness is a weakness, and that they need to toughen up and be more. They don't ever use the words brutal, but just be more of a strong leader with their dog.
Another one, Kerry, that this has reminded me of is, and I had this conversation actually with a client yesterday, that, it's me, I'm so anxious. My anxiety is causing this. And I'll say, oh, really? Where did that come from? Oh, the last trainer I saw told me, or I saw a video. And, it's always women. It's never guys that say, oh, I know it's my anxiety that's causing this.
Totally, yeah, I hear that all the time. Or there's the common setup where it's a couple, and often a woman will say to me, the dog doesn't do this when they're with my partner, and he says I'm too soft with the dog. That's
always.
And you can physically see the relief when you tell them that everything you're doing is spot on. The fact that your dog is reacting like that around you is probably because they feel safe enough to do that with you. It's a huge compliment. It doesn't mean we don't need to address it, but
it's not as a result of your poor handling.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So I think it's that sort of language that and the way that people talk themselves down and consider themselves a failure because someone online has told them your dog is like this because of you. Yeah.
Oh God, the classic one is crate training. We failed so early with crate training. We failed on the first day, we failed on the second day. And I'll say to them, okay, what do you mean you failed? Can we talk about what is this? And they'll say, oh, well, the first night he screamed all night and it was awful. And so I gave in and I slept on the sofa with him and I know that I failed. And I'll say to them, you think you failed because you went to a crying baby that was terrified and traumatised? It's horrible that...
breaks my heart that people feel that these acts of compassion and just general kindness are a failure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well as that, God, I don't even know where to go with this issue, but bloody grot leads, like grot collars, that for me is the thing that has really found its way from the internet into the mainstream. Yeah. And for anybody who doesn't know, a grot collar is one of these, it's like a slip lead, but really thin, like a cable almost, isn't it? Yep. And it sits right up high on the sensitive part of the neck, right behind the ears, and it tightens right up, and then it's used for corrections, inverted commas.
Oh, but of course, Jade, you must understand that these things are only bad if you don't use them correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. If you fail to lift your dog off the ground so that it can't breathe anymore, that is on you, not on me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yes, and which also reminds me of another thing that people will hear all the time is that, this normalization that people think that a mother would be like that, would be brutal with her puppy, and therefore we need to be brutal with our dogs as well. And there's so many trainers perpetuating that myth online, and that comes up a lot in sessions as well.
I'm quite lucky. I don't get that one. But to be completely honest with you, I have never had someone come to me from a grot lead. I've been quite lucky in that sense, but I can see that would be the conversation.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I just think is hilarious, and I've got Alyssa Ralph, a nutritionist, coming on at some point, is they have to go on raw food. They have to be on raw food because their behaviour is because they're not on raw feeding. I'm going to tell you this here and now, and I'm going to hold your hand when I say this, listeners. That is for them to make money and nothing else.
Mm-hmm. And also for them to buy into the myth that their dog is in fact a wolf who requires raw meat, which then makes them feel more powerful because they are wrangling a wolf, an actual wolf at the end of that lead.
And you know what little girl wants to feed their dog kibble? You know, you're not masculine enough if you're not feeding bones and offal and blood, right?
Exactly. It's
very tiring, isn't it, Kerry?
It's really, really, really exhausting. Yeah, it really is. And also that's another thing, speaking of food, and I don't want to get too much into food because it's not my area of expertise at all, but when people say you can't feed a dog human food, and it's like, food is food is food. Food. There's no such thing as human food and dog food. It's all grown on this earth. It just depends in what kind of form you want to feed your dog it, but it's all the same stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm. I'm not like you in the sense that I don't dedicate a lot of my time to debunking videos. In fact, you're so bloody good at it and so reliable with it that, you know, it's not something that I need to be doing. And quite often I've even just sent Kerry like a link and I'm like, make a video about this.
I don't have the strength. So many people.
Yeah, exactly.
Kerry, have you seen this? I'm like, oh my God, I was trying to have a day where I wasn't getting angry. I'm going to have to do 2 hours of Buddhist chanting tonight so that I don't feel stressed.
Well, you know, the follower count loves you, Kerry, so you're doing something right.
Thank you.
But one thing I did have to go and make myself a little video about because it was driving me nuts was the idea that if you're out training your dog and your dog is not taking a food reward, it is because your dog is not hungry enough and you need to get their motivation for food up higher by hand feeding and restricting their meals. And yeah, have you seen that one? Tell me about that one. Otherwise I'm just ranting at the microphone about things that I see on social media.
I've seen that so many times. And let me tell you something that I heard the other day that was a complete new one on me. This wasn't something that someone told me. This was something that a client told a friend of mine. They told them that they had been told by a previous trainer that they were the only food the dog was to get was from their hand. And if the dog did something that they would deem bad or wouldn't comply with a certain command or anything like that, they would then make the dog watch them put the food into the bin, as though the dog could make any such association between what they didn't do and that food going in the bin. I mean, we were laughing about it, saying, well, the dog probably thinks, wonderful, so it goes in the bin now, and then do I get it out the bin? Or, you know, bins are wonderful.
Yeah. So how does this work? Yeah. Do you want me to eat through the bin? I'll just counter surf in a minute and find it for myself. Yeah.
These people are as sadistic as they are stupid, I'm afraid.
Yeah. There's a trainer near me, just so anyone who's not watching a live video can hear at home when I say trainer, I'm inverting commas. What do they call this? Finger commas or something?
I was doing a lot of that a minute ago when I was saying words like command and things like that.
Yes. Just, you know, you can hear it in our voices, I expect. But one of these trainers, inverted commas, near us, tells people, and we know this because we have had the customers then come to us afterwards, to eat some of the dog's food before the dog so that the dog knows that it is lower in the ranking. And I've even heard, I think the same person, but somebody else in the area to say to spit in the dog's food before you give the dog the food so that the dog knows that they are lower in the pecking order. And I think that dog must just think, delicious, additional sauce. What about all this wonderful stuff that's just landed in my food? You know, it's just nonsense.
A dog will lick a bin. A dog will go into the toilet and eat out of the toilet if they could. You know, they are going to love anything like that. And it just, when I hear that, I just think, God, what happened to you that you feel they need to do that? Why are you so broken? Why are you so insecure? You know, I don't want to pathologize it too much, but there is some major insecurity going on with somebody that feels the need to spit into another being's food to let them know just how powerful they are, right?
Well, my next question, Kerry, was going to be, what is the wildest thing you've ever seen online? And I can tell you that mine is someone that tells people to spit in the dog's mouth to remind them that they are lower in the hierarchy. If the dog does not respond to the command, inverted commas, to physically open the dog's mouth and spit in the dog's mouth. And in this video, Kerry, the dog is licking its lips. It's like, that is delicious. Thank you so much. How divine. Did you have a roast this afternoon? That to me, I've never seen anything beat that, but I don't know if you have.
Well, this is a little bit of a curveball, actually. I won't say the name of the account, but there's a very, very, very famous account with a dog that presses buttons to communicate. And
oh, yes, I love this conversation so much. Yeah, don't name the account, but tell the listeners. Oh, I'm so excited.
And I find that to be one of the most problematic accounts in the industry because of the anthropomorphism that is evident. So
Kerry, could I just stop you? Can you describe the account for people who don't know what you're talking about?
Yes, absolutely. So this is an account where there is a dog that the guardian claims can have complex conversations with them via a large array of buttons. Now, to be clear, I'm well aware that buttons can work. Mm-hmm. What I dislike about this particular account is there are very abstract terms that are being used in these buttons that I don't believe can be inferred from a dog through their behaviour. For example, I've seen this particular dog communicating that they had a bad dream last night. Now, I would love to see how you would condition the word dream with a dog, right? Because we know that we can condition a dog to kind of say that they want to go outside, that they'd like the dinner, that they, concrete terms that are very straightforward. That's not to say they don't have...
To interrupt you and break this down in even further detail for anyone who doesn't know, essentially what you do is pair the button that has the word on it, which they can obviously differentiate the words, but the buttons are different colours and all sorts as well. You pair it with the action. So when you take the dog outside, you press the outside button and then they quickly start to form that association, right?
Yes.
But there has to be a very obvious stimuli or action or something that pairs with the button in order for the dog to understand the connection.
Yeah, we're talking...
So, sorry, carry on.
Conditioning, aren't we? I don't understand how you could condition the word dream with a dog.
Or bad.
Or bad, exactly, because you're assuming that they have the same morality that we do, when in fact they don't. You know, a dog would have sex with their sibling and not think there's anything wrong with that, you know? They are completely different species to us. So, yeah, so this account, I've had people unfollow me because I've criticised this account. One person criticised me saying that they thought that it was just clickbait that I'm creating. And I was like, actually, no, I think that this account does just as much damage for dogs as the account showing people throttling them. Because it's teaching people to misunderstand their body language and to assume their motivations with a human lens. It's not rooted, I don't think, in science. And I've had other people say, well, this guardian is a linguist of human language, right? So what has that got to do with a dog? Nothing. So yeah, it really annoys me because I think it's damaging when we're desperately trying to get people to understand the behaviours that are the most important and the body language that keeps them and us safe. You know, so many people don't even recognise, that a yawn is a stress signal, but yet or can be a stress signal.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting segue, because I was going to say to you, in the videos of this particular dog, she's always yawning when she's pressing the buttons. Have you noticed how big the yawns?
She looks really frustrated.
Yeah, I guess that's what is making sense in my brain, because I'm thinking, what about this is upsetting you? Because in my head, you are just hammering a load of buttons that don't really mean anything. Slight segue. My favourite one is why. When she says, why this? Or why is this happening? How do you teach a dog what why is?
I was just going to say, I saw one when this dog was asking, why am I?
What was the response out of interest? Why was she?
And she said, I can't remember what the response was, but I was like, this is a con. This is a con. Why is name? Yeah, why is name? And she said something like, because you are a dog, or something like that. And it was I just thought, that's it. I'm gonna punch my
I'm done.
screen in now, because I've seen enough. You could be doing.
I mean, I think even.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, go ahead, Kerry. No, you go.
Well, I just think that she could be doing. The buttons could be used for much greater things if she wasn't going down the clickbait route and trying to get these ridiculous philosophical conversations in. You know, it could be more interesting and much more educational. But I think it comes down to the fact that perhaps she doesn't actually know how to read behaviour, language, canine language. See, I said the word canine rather than dog, which means I understand more about dogs. That's another thing you'll know.
I'm a scientist. Yeah, I think whatever way you paint it, like welfare issues of it aside, it's just a bit icky that's inevitably monetized, isn't it? And it's complete bollocks.
It's monetized.
There's no other way to put it.
And it's just someone, once again, just doing stuff that is performative and that doesn't benefit the dog. I'm tired of stuff that people think benefits dogs, but it doesn't. It just benefits the human. Like I saw a lovely person, really kind person, I'm sure, on TV the other day on a quiz show. And they said, what are you going to do if you win the money? She says, I'm going to treat my dogs to a diamond collar. I thought, what? Why would your dog consider that a treat?
Yeah.
Your dog would love it if you gave them a filthy bin to rummage through. That would be a real treat, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. My dog would absolutely love a pile of cat shit. If you can find one, he would be so happy with that.
Right? But then this other dog trainer would come along and say that is wrong, that is bad, and that there is some sort of dominance going on there. The dog is trying to dominate the cat via you by eating the cat shit. Sorry, I'm trying to find the bit of chicken that's in my pocket for Norma.
Oh, poor Norma. Abused Norma. Well, Norma shouldn't be on your lap. We all know this, Kerry. You're far too low in the hierarchy. That's what I think.
I know, right?
So I would like to spend the last bit of time, I guess, giving some really concrete advice to people about how they can recognise the good and bad going forward. And actually, as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, you know, people have free will. They can choose what to follow. But I guess what I want to get across, the reason for this podcast is the reason why dog bites have escalated so much is because of the lack of information that is out there. Handling methods in studies, these aversive methods have been shown to increase aggression, break down relationships. And if we keep consuming that information and we treat our dogs that way as a result, it is not only a welfare issue for the dog, but actually a safety and a public health concern. So, you know, I'm well aware that people might listen to this and be annoyed, and I'm sure some people will, but for those who understand why we are so passionate about advocating for a clean social media feed, I would like to come up with some ways for them to recognise I am going to say the good and the bad. I'm going to come out and say it. I was trying to avoid it and say, you know, we've all got our opinions and it's full of nuance, but look, there's a lot of shite out there, and there is a lot of people getting some really, really good content, some fantastic videos that are really helpful. How can we tell the difference? So is there a phrase that instantly tells you, block, delete, unfollow?
Yes. When anyone mentions quick fixes,
or
if they start mentioning alphas or dominance, that's a huge red flag. If they're using a video and showing them wrangling a dog that is out of control and that is frightened, that is stressed, that's a huge red flag as far as I'm concerned, because that is, we know that when you're working with a dog that is struggling, it is boring. In terms of if someone was to watch, it's not sensational. It's boring, and you wouldn't want to watch it. Yeah, anything that looks too sensational, anything that makes wild claims about you can fix your dog, anyone that talks about how they, personally, I think when I've fixed or transformed thousands of dogs, these kind of grandiose claims, I think, are often a real red flag.
I've got two. I've just come up with two. One is if they are a person, I'm sure there's a few exceptions, but just knowing what the algorithm is like, if they sell their own, become a Jade Nicholas certified dog trainer in 3 weeks using my £3,000 scheme, that's one for me. And the second one is I'm going to say anyone where in every single video there is a slip lead or a grot collar on the dog and they are doing the same thing in every single video, because dog behaviour is so varied that none of my clients have the same training plan. None of them. They're all completely different. And I just look at these videos and I'm like, I wonder what these people do when someone gets in touch and says my dog has separation anxiety. Do they go, okay, well, what I want you to do is leave your dog in the house, put a grot collar on, and then we'll just extend a lead all the way to the outside of the house and we will just perform a leash correction every time the dog barks from inside the house. Like, my point is, the videos should be varied. It should be all different sizes of dogs, old, young, different humans, different methods, when I say methods, I mean, different exercises, different environments. Yeah. If you see the same thing every time, it's probably because they're a one-trick pony, right?
Well, exactly. I mean, another reason why I don't show the videos of me working with clients is because often my clients are crying. Yeah. Or it's the same with you.
Why? What do you do to them, Kerry?
I really insult them a lot in the first session to break them down and help them
to build them back up.
Yeah. No, they, it's a really, these dogs are part of their family, and when that dynamic is breaking down, it's really upsetting for them. And because these people often feel such a failure, which they're not, but they feel like they are. So people often cry in the sessions. And I can't imagine me showing a video of look at the dog now and look at this dog before with the human standing there sobbing, what kind of monster would I be to do that? Yeah. So I think, a lot of the work that we do involves sitting down, talking to the client, just talking initially, at least. Mm-hmm. So that's another red flag for me. And also when they say things like, you have to work with the dog in front of you, and then they do the same thing with every single dog, which is, choke them. Or when they say, some dogs need a firm hand. There's no dog that needs that, Yes, I've got a tiny little dog sitting on my lap here who weighs 4 kilos, but, in her brain is still the same dog brain as in, a Rottweiler. She just, it just manifests in a different way to that dog, and she's just not as strong as them, but her I've lost my words.
I guess her motivation, her feelings are still as varied and complex as any other.
And what's the word I'm looking for? I'm so sorry. I'm losing words all the time at the moment because of perimenopause.
Oh gosh.
No, the sympathetic nervous system remains the same no matter what size the animal is.
That's fight or flight for anyone who's not sure. That's your kind of...
Sorry, yes, of course. Yeah.
No, it's okay. Or the red mist. A lot of people always call it that, and I just always know that that's what they mean.
Or big feelings, when they've got...
Big feelings.
Big feelings. Norma can experience them just as much as a Malinois can. Mm-hmm. And do you know what? I feel sorry for anyone that's working out there ethically with a Mallee, a professional with a Mallee, because they've become such a kind of... caricature now of the dog trainer, the bully kind of dog trainer that with the Mallee, it's become a cliche, hasn't it?
Yeah, and there's people near me that it's all over their website, and I just think, what is the value in your highest skill set is teaching bite work to a pet Malinois? In what world is that as important as, I don't know, helping a traumatized dog from Eastern Europe? I don't get it. I actually didn't give you this question beforehand, Kerry, and it's just kind of occurred to me as something that has hit me in the last couple of weeks. And I know we're about at time, so I won't keep it going for long. Do you think that there is also the possibility that people are being exposed to toxic, force-free rhetoric as well? Because I think that not only is it this kind of heavy-handed, aversive, be the alpha, be dominant sort of thing that is being put upon people, but I actually think that sometimes people feel inadequate because there is this really, really punchy, force-free rhetoric that is like, your dog cannot be stressed at any time, your dog cannot experience any hardship. And whilst, yes, we all want that for our dogs, you know, I have people say to me that they don't want to tell me something, and I can see it, and I'm like, what is it? You know, what is it that you want to tell me? And they'll say, oh, well, you know, we did go to one training session 6 years ago, and we did put a prong collar on him once because the person told me to do that. And I think, who's made you feel like the one thing that you did all those years ago under the guidance of a professional, that you should still feel guilty and still pay for that? Because you're here and you're doing the right thing now, and that's what's important.
Absolutely. This is it. You know, I have zero judgment on kind of everyday dog guardians for doing stuff that I would think is possibly harmful to their dog. Because there is so much crap out there. People don't know what to do, what to think. They are frightened. If they don't do this, they're going to create, you know, if they let their dog sleep in their bed, their dog is going to become a monster. And, you know, all of these things, if they don't take their newborn baby and introduce it to the dog right in their face, then they'll never get along. You know, there's all of these kind of things that are incorrect, but people don't know what to do. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to, well, on my own podcast that I do, if you don't mind me mentioning it.
No, of course not.
Yeah, so I do a podcast, Are You There, Dog? It's me, Kerry. And in one of my episodes, I actually have a conversation with one of my clients who had been to 2 trainers before me, both using horrific methods. And the conversation we had is about the language that they use to sell their service, and also how they tried to break her down in the sessions. And it's fascinating hearing what she said, but also the guilt that both her and her partner feel to this day because of the stuff that they did to their dog. You know, at one point she says they came home from a session, they were driving home, and they couldn't even look at each other because they felt so appalled with themselves. But they'd been told to do that, and they'd been told, if you don't do this, X, Y, Z,
you're wrong.
Your dog will end up euthanized, your dog will end up biting someone. You've got to do this, you've got to be cruel to be kind, and all of this stuff. So these were very kind, intelligent people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I we might have a slight disagreement on this, but you know, we're all friends here. I had to unfollow a couple of accounts the other day, and no doubt they unfollowed me, which is fine, who are force-free, very vocally positive reinforcement dog trainers. Both of them in a very short period of time put up sort of, you know, it's quite trendy for us to put memes of like, oh, POV, you are a dog trainer and X happens, and it's like a picture of something from popular culture. You know the type of thing I'm talking about, right? And they had memes that were like, I don't know if you watch Stranger Things, but it's Sadie Sink giving the middle finger to Vecna, and it's sort of saying, it's a picture of that, and it's like me when I see X, Y, and Z. And the first one was me when I see a guardian walking their dog on a head collar. And it was this like very like forward middle finger. And I have a huge problem with that because of my professional experience with a huge variety of humans and dogs. I worked last year with a lady who was in her late 70s, and she had an adolescent Labrador, and we can all talk about, you know, whether it was the right dog for her or whatever, but she loved this dog, he loved her, he's in that house. There's no way I'm going to say, you got to rehome him. No, we make it work for this lady and her dog who love each other, right? He had pulled her over and broken her wrist. And I'm sure anyone who is of that age is listening knows that that sort of thing happens as you get older, and it can't be something that just happens every week because every bone would be broken. So yes, we did lots of work on loose lead walking with treat training. We checked he was looked over by a physio, we did everything. But as a safety precaution, with his harness, we used a dogmatic head collar as a backup for if he saw a cat or something like that. Because it's either that or this lady goes face first into the concrete and either the dog is hit by a car or whatever, you know. And I think that if anybody is listening to this and they're stuck in the middle and they think everyone from every angle tells me that I'm wrong and I'm not doing good enough, as long as you're doing your best in that situation and feeling empowered by the decisions you are making, that is the type of person that I want to work with. What do you think about that?
So I don't know the meme, that particular one that you're talking about, but I used to be very, very, very anti head collars. I don't love them. I don't love them. But
no, we would never choose them first. No. Let's be clear. No. Like, you know, they're nobody's first choice. And most owners would tell you that because they can see the dog doesn't really like it. Yeah. But sorry, carry on.
But I've worked with a few dogs where we have tried everything. And we've managed to kind of get the dog to a point where one dog I'm thinking of in particular, lovely guardians. And this dog was a rescue and he was huge. And we managed to kind of get him to a point where he was a lot calmer. But if he was to notice a cat, he would send you flying because the speed that he would go was insane. And they were, you know, specifically avoiding places where there was going to be a cat. But every now and then a cat arrived. And this is what this dog did. And so they used a head collar, and I actually had to agree with them that it was the safest thing. But they also had a muzzle on this dog as well, you know, a basket muzzle, which they desensitized the dog to, and they desensitized the dog to the head collar as well. And so that's that was, for me, that was a change for me, in that I thought it's either this or this dog doesn't get to get out and about.
Or he ends up with a prong collar on.
Exactly. So he did go to secure fields and things like that where he didn't have that on. So he had opportunities for it not to be on, but sometimes he had to have that on. I also have another good friend who is a Rhodesian Ridgeback specialist.
Lovely.
Yeah, she's lovely. She's got 7 of them. She's called...
Bloody hell, she must have a big house.
She has got an especially huge one, but anyway, she makes it work. But some of hers wear them and some of them don't. That's Donna Connolly. I'll just give her a shout out. And I've been out with her dogs, and the ones that do wear them are the ones that have become desensitized to them and couldn't care less. The ones that have shown that they find it aversive and they don't like it at all, they don't wear them. They don't wear them. So in that situation, I love that she spends the time desensitizing them, and if it's not going to work, she doesn't do it. So yeah, I think there's more nuance to it. In an ideal world, no dog would wear a head collar. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, never, ever, by the way, the figure of 8 ones. Just
no,
nothing that ever tightens. It's got to be one that is comfortable, that doesn't
has a finite tightening.
Yes, definitely. But yeah, I would say like 1% of my clients use them. 1%. And that is after lots and lots and lots and lots of trying other things.
Yeah, I also have a client, they've finished now, but he wears one because he has a back injury, and he most of the time he walks beautifully loose, so it's like not really an issue, it just sort of hangs there. And then occasionally he'll have a very, like, in comparison to what you and I see, very small reaction to other dogs. And the physio and the chiropractor that saw him and vets basically said, do not put a harness on this dog.
Right.
So, you know, I guess, yeah, I just wanted to throw that in because rightfully we've spent a lot of time trying to say stay away from these harmful things that are really going to harm your dog and your relationship with your dogs, but actually I think there's other things out there that can harm your self-confidence and your own self-belief if you take everything completely verbatim and you don't try to kind of think critically about, well, maybe this doesn't apply to me. And I think everybody needs to feel confident as much as they can to kind of say, I don't think that's actually applicable to me because my dog has a back injury or whatever it might be. Just don't believe everything you see. Yeah. Even the stuff that me and Kerry say, think critically, because there's always nuance.
There is always nuance, and But I think it's not always the people that speak the loudest that are making the most sense. Always try to keep in mind you can be loud or you can be right. No, that's not right. You can be loud or you can be stupid, but you mustn't be both. Many people out
Yeah.
there, don't follow that advice. Many people are very, very, very good at persuading people of things that are just wrong, but they've got the gift of the gab and they're really persuasive and they're very kind of domineering in the way that they talk. And so people think, well, it makes sense. But that doesn't. Trust your gut as well. The amount of clients I've worked with that have done awful things to their dogs because previous trainers have told them to, they often will say, I didn't like it and I felt awful doing it. Listen to that voice. That voice is right. If you are harming your dog, even in the name of training, it's not right.
Yeah, most of us are not inherently cruel. We will feel we love this thing, we don't want to inflict pain on it.
Yeah.
And there is no reason to. I was going to ask you, what is the one thing that you would have people take away from this episode? I mean, we've just said about 50, but is there one overarching message you would like to leave them with?
I would say, does it benefit the dog? But it just always ask yourself that. Does it benefit the dog? Whether you are looking at the way that you are treating the dog, or whether you are thinking about something that you find entertaining about the dog, such as a costume or something like that, or taking them to a dog disco, that kind of thing. I really want you to think, is this about what you think is fun? Or is this really what your dog needs? And that applies as well to the methods that we use for training and behavior support as well. Does the dog actually benefit from this? Or is it simply shutting a dog down and making life more convenient? Which, we all want our lives to be convenient. I'm not judging people for this, but when you start asking yourself the question, that's when you start to think, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not sure that this is best for them, but it is making my life easier.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, I think convenient is only convenient for a short period of time and it will bite you in the arse.
Literally.
So that's another thing to remember. Quite literally. Yes. Kerry, before you go, mention your podcast again. Let people know where they can find you and feel free to plug anything else you would like to plug. The floor is yours.
Okay, lovely. So, yep, you can find me on social media, Howl School for Dogs. I'm on all of the places. And I also have a podcast called Are You There, Dog? It's me, Kerry, and you can listen to that in all the podcast places. And I'm even having it back on Spotify since they've stopped advertising ICE agents recruitment.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Thank you so much, Kerry. Have a great evening.
Lovely to see you. Thank you. Bye.
I am buzzing after that interview with Kerry. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure it made you laugh at points. It maybe made you think if we did something correctly. And hopefully it has made you excited for my next interview. So thanks so much for stopping by to listen to me and Kerry have a chat. If you like this episode, please follow me on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review, share on social media so we can get the word out there. And I will see you next Wednesday for another episode of Talking Sit.